Hi and welcome back to the channel. So today we have come up to Northumberland and we are fishing some rocks. Going to try for some summer codlins out of the kelp. Hopefully there's a few redfish knocking around in the kelp beds. It's the first time I've been summer fishing this year for the cod. Thought I would just stick the camera on whilst I'm setting up. So I've come onto a mark quite far up north as far as Northumberland goes. And we're going to fish 2.5 hours down and then probably around 2 hours back up. So the rod of choice is the Tronics Pro Competition Rock, which is my go-to rod for the rock edges. Favourite rod, love it. We've got some nice peeler crab to use as bait. Just going to be using pulley rigs with a 3/0 hook, rotten bottoms. And in a couple of moments, once I've got the rig out, I will just show you how I'm doing my bait, and then we'll get a bait put out and hopefully get into some action. But the fishing up the coast hasn't been very good so far this summer. I've just come up as a bit of a stab in the dark. It's a lovely day, 23 degrees. This is the sea level long sleeve UV protective shirt, which should keep us from burning on the arms. But I've stupidly forgot my cap. And I've also not put any sun cream on, so my neck and my head is probably going to be burnt to a crisp. Never mind. So, pulley rig, probably maybe 2.5 foot body, and then 2 3/4 foot for the hook snood. Just a small hook today, just a single 3/0. And then this is 80 Maxima Chameleon for the rig body and the hook snood, going down to a 30 rotten bottom, 6 ounce lead. The splashdowns are unnecessary, but it's just a force of habit. I'm only going to be lobbing around here, so I don't need the splashdowns on. But I just make me rigs with them on all the time. It's just habit. It's a bit stupid, but hey ho. So, just going to put some elastic thread around the bait needle onto the hook just to secure it in place. And I've peeled this crab. It was quite hard, so I've literally just took the top off and just a little bit of the bottom. Doesn't really matter like when you've got peeler crab, as long as you can get the majority of the shell off. Just place that onto the back of the hook, wrap it round. Again, each to their own on how much elastic you put on. I know some lads don't like putting too much elastic on. I like to have plenty of elastic on mine just to make sure it doesn't slide up and down the hook. And then just to bulk it out, I've got half a soft shell crab here, because I'm going to make my first bait quite a big one and see if there's any fish there. Should continue wrapping that on. And then once you're done, you can snap your elastic. That's on the hook perfectly. Looks lovely, that. And then just pop it off. There you go. So like I say, this one is going to go about 60-70 yards out. Tide's starting to fall. And another thing I forgot on top of the sun cream and the cap is a towel to wipe my hands. So the kelp that's lying on the rocks is going to be my best mate today. Jesus, man. I'd forget it if it wasn't screwed on. Here we go. Bait's clipped down again. Don't need to be clipping it down, but I just trust the Gemini splashdown, you know. I know quite a lot of people have had like baits that haven't come out of them, but 99% of the time my baits have always came out with splashdown, unless I've been fishing on a beach where the splashdown's getting full of sand, and that can prevent it from unclipping sometimes. But generally speaking, I've had no issue with the Gemini splashdowns. So, like I say, just an overhead thump. That's it. Make sure it's nice and kelpy there. Yep. Just another little tip for you as well, whenever you're fishing the rock ends and you're using fixed spool and braid, I always make sure that my drag's slack, because I've had fish that have been 2.5, 3 pound literally nearly take the rod out of the stand, and if I didn't have the drag set, the rod would have flew off the stand and probably got damaged. So I always make sure that the drag's nice and slack. And then it's another good thing as well, because if you've got your back turned to the rod baiting up and you hear the reel pull and drag off, then you know you've had a bite. But just make sure that if you're going to do it, that you actually tighten the drag up when you pick the rod up to reel your fish in. It's one of them things that takes a little bit of time just to get into yourself as a habit. But the amount of people that I know who have just started fishing like with braid and they're fishing with the drag off and they get a really good bite and then pick the rod up out the tripod and strike into it without the drag being tight. And what ends up happening is if the fish isn't properly hooked, then you end up just like spooking the fish, or whatever happens, you know, they don't end up catching the fish. So it takes a bit getting used to, but once it's a habit, it's a good habit to have. I'm going to get my second rig out and get it baited up. Tide's dropping pretty quick, so what I'll probably do is have half a dozen chucks here, move up the skier, and then as the tide gets towards low, I'll probably go off the point and chuck a few straight out as well. That's another thing that you see quite a lot of people doing, is like when they turn up on a mark, they head straight to the point, because they've got it in their head that if they go to the... Sorry, I just heard the drag click there, it might have just been the tide. Because they've got it in the head that if they go straight ahead and cast as far as they can straight off the front, that's where all the fish are going to be. But actually what tends to happen is 9 times out of 10 they've walked past all the fish, because the fish are just in the backs of the bays, hiding in gullies and kelp beds and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to have a cast into somewhere that doesn't look that fishy, because actually you'll be quite surprised to find that 9 times out of 10 there's resident fish lying in these areas that other people haven't taken out, because other people haven't fought to go and have a cast in that area, if that makes sense. Whereas if you're fishing a popular mark and you go straight off the front where everyone goes, probably going to be less fish if it's getting fish on a regular basis. So yeah, resident fish get taken out, and then they can take multiple tides until a new batch of fresh fish run into the kelp and then become resident. So top tip, if you're walking past somewhere that you think looks shit, don't knock it till you've tried it. Even if it's one cast, you might just get a surprise. I used to be murder for it years ago when I was a little bit more inexperienced. Was just going straight to the end of a rock, putting a bait on and casting it as far as I could, and then wondering why I'm either just getting small coaly bites, or I might get 1 or 2 codlins and then that's the end of it. And as time's gone on, I've learned that if you just dot around and have a few short casts here and then a couple of long casts here and then move and do the same again, you're covering more ground, which in a sense you can access more resident fish. Whereas if you stay in the same spot all day, once them fish you've caught have been taken out of the kelp, that's it. So just whilst I'm tying another lead onto my rotten bottom, just wanted to tell you as well, for those that don't use rotten bottoms or don't know what they are, you must use these when you're fishing the kelp beds, because if you don't, you're just going to cost yourself fish. So basically what it is it works as a weak link between your main rig body and your lead, because if your lead gets stuck, then it allows you to break the lead away from the rig and still retrieve the rig with the fish on if you've got a fish. So I choose to go 30-pound breaking strain for my rotten bottoms. 35, 40 is fine as well. If you're using 80-pound braid and 70 and 80-pound rig bodies and stuff, it's not much point using 15 or 20-pound mono for your rotten bottoms, because what you'll find is when you're fishing heavy ground, as soon as you put a load of pressure on that lead, if it's only got 15 or 20-pound rotten bottom line on it, it just snaps the lead really easily and you end up losing more leads than what you need to be using. Whereas these, you can put quite a lot of resistance on them before they actually break. So yeah, just literally 6-7 inches long, tied to your air lead, and then that's your little rotten bottom clip there. And what you do is on the rotten bottom clip you can just tie the line to either the loop, or you can tie it onto the little U-shaped bend there, but I find if you tie it onto the U-shaped bend, sometimes it can pop off the end of the bend because there's nothing to stop the actual knot from coming off. So I put mine in the ring part of the rotten bottom. And then you just clip it to whatever bait clip you're using, or whatever lead link that you're using. And then before you cast out, all you do is just pop your lead onto the loop part of the rotten bottom, and then when it hits the bottom of the seabed, automatically that unclips itself from your lead link, from the rotten bottom, sorry. And now you've just got that 30-pound bridge between your main line and your lead. So that's how you use a rotten bottom. Just wanted to mention that, like, I've decided to start doing the odd videos more for educational purposes than anything else. I get loads of customers who come into my shop and they're always asking us, you know, I'd love to come fishing with you, and unfortunately I can't accommodate everyone. I don't have the time or the resources to be able to go out fishing with everyone that comes in the shop. And without sounding rude, sometimes I quite like to just go fishing by myself. So the reason that I'm making these videos is to try and help anyone who wants to learn a few extra things about rock fishing for cod, in the northeast especially, but also to show customers who come in the shop who are knowledgeable, so that they can enjoy a video just watching me fail on the rocks. Oh, that sounded like a good bite. So there you go. That's the reason that I leave me drag off. Let's see what's happening here. So whilst I was chatting shit to you there, I just heard the reel peel some line off, and I am actually getting a bite. Hopefully it progresses. So nothing else has come of that bite yet, but I will start keeping an eye on it now, just in case it happens again. I bet it's not often you hear someone say that sounded like a good bite rather than that looked like a good bite. But you can tell, because when they pull hard on the braid and you can hear the line stripping off the reel, generally it's because you've had a good bite. So I'm just prepping me second bait now, and then I'm going to bait another rig up so that as soon as I reel in this one, I can get another fresh bait straight out, which allows you to have more fishing time, which is really handy if you're match fishing, by the way. Sometimes you can't really do it, because if you're fishing in the winter and the sea's really rough, you're standing on the end of the rocks holding your rod because you can't put it down on the tripod because it's too rough. You struggle to be able to bait a second rig up. It's really nice to come out in the summer when it's flat calm, put your rod on the tripod and just fish. I'm getting a bite again there. I'll just let that tap away. It might just be a small codlin. Yeah, I'm gonna be so burnt. It's so hot. Last time I was cod fishing from the shore, it was minus 20 degrees in Norway, and now it's plus 23. There's no in between, is there? There's the second bait. And then if you've got a tripod that's got a little clip on it, you can just hang your bait from that clip, so that when you reel in, you can unclip your rig, drop it on the floor, pick your new rig off the tripod, clip it on, chuck straight back out. Time-saving tips with Lenny Davies. Right, so it's been out about 20 minutes now and that bite hasn't came back, the one from this first cast. So I'm going to reel this in. Maybe there's a small one lying on. Let's find out. And nothing on there. So I'll just whip this in, get the other bait on, and I'll cast it into a different position. Bit of weed there, like, just on the end of the hook. Bait's been hammered, like, could have been lobsters plucking away at it. From the lads who have been fishing up the coast, I've heard a lot of reports of people getting problems with lobsters on the rocks, stripping the baits, which it's not ideal. See how I've just unclipped that rig, clipped the second one on, and then I'm straight back out for my other cast within not even a minute of the first one being reeled in. Whereas now, if I had to take that rig off and bait it up, I'd be costing myself about 5 minutes fishing time, which over the course of a session, if you're having 10 casts, 10 times 5 minutes, it's 50 minutes fishing that you're losing. I think I'll put it just slightly right of the last cast. There we go. And because the water's so clear as well, I can actually see the kelp under the water, and like gaps in between the kelp, which is obviously little sandy gullies. And that cast there landed just on the edge of a gully into a kelp bed. So hopefully there's a nice red cod sat in it waiting for me. So yeah, just keep that drag off, pull the line so that you're obviously not moving the lead, and then put your rod down, tighten it up gently again so that you're not moving the lead, and just make sure that it's not too slack so that it's going to take line through the tide, but not too tight so that if the fish really gives you a riving bite, it's going to pull the rod off the stand. And for those of you that are watching that do know all of this, thanks for watching, stay tuned. Hopefully you can get some form of pleasure from watching the video, aside from all the educational purposes that you might not need to know. See him out there, but that is one of the biggest seals I've ever seen. That's not good. Or is it? Does that mean there's fish here? Hopefully he keeps going out, because about 3 minutes ago he was only 70-80 yards away. Oh, right where I was about to cast as well. What am I going to do here? Right, sort of need a plan B here. Maybe I'll go on to the end of here and chuck straight ahead, and I'll come back onto this mark later on. Oh, there's another one! Oh my god, there's one off the front as well. You probably can't see that one because it's quite far away, but I've got two seals here, one straight off the front, one there. This is going to make things tricky, this, like. Lenny versus the seals. Who will win? It's just as well these things are waterproof, like, because the tripod for the camera has just fell off my box and straight into there. Jesus, it's gonna be one of them days, isn't it? This is why I stopped doing YouTube videos, you know, because they were too much hassle. Right, here's the thing. We're going to move. I'm going to take the camera with us. See if I can carry them. Whoa. See if I can carry them all at once. Right. Splodge through this bit gully. I don't know where my little friend's gone, but he seems to have vanished somewhere. Can I get onto this? Let's have a look. deep like. Oh. Right. Here we go. Now I'm paranoid about my camera ending up in the water. So I'm paranoid about my camera ending up in the water. I'm paranoid about seals. Great hell. Away. Not making a very good example of this, am I? I'm going to have one more chuck here, straight ahead from where I am. Obviously this one's over to the left. That seal seems to have vanished actually, so fingers crossed that might anticipate a few fish. Alright, so once I've had a chuck out there, if I don't get anything, I'm going to move behind us and go off the point. Have a few chucks off the point and fingers crossed. Be honest with you, if I get one fish, I'll be happy just to say I haven't blanked. Like I say, it's my first time cod fishing since February in Norway, like with bait from the shore. So if I can pull one out, just getting a few really small rattles here. It's either a small rockland, a really small codlin, or it could be a lobster. But this is the fourth chuck, and like I said before, this is the last one on here. I'm gonna move on to the point in a second. Like, I'm gonna reel this in because it's been tapping away for a few minutes now. Look, I don't know if you can see it. Like, get this in. I didn't think it'll be hooked, whatever it is. It's very small. There you go. It's a rockland. Look at how fat it is. That's been feeding well. Look at that. It's got some belly on it, like. Definitely time to move. Don't want to be getting them every chuck. Tell you what. Slimy little things, isn't there? Just want to try and show you the gut on that. Wow. That's like me after Christmas dinner. Look at that. Stick it in this little gully here. Hey, right. I'll get moved and then I'll bring you back once I've moved. Right, so I've cast out off the front. There's plenty more tides ripping from the front of here than there was where I was before, so I might even pick up a few fish that are running around in the tide. Get my next bait ready and I'll bring this back if there is any action here. Right, I've just brought in the first chuck that I've had off this point. Been out there for about 25 minutes, maybe even half an hour. Never had a bite. So it's not looking good. This cast, I'm going to try casting a bit further. Just got to keep hope all the time because it just takes that one chuck. And next thing you know, you could be into a lovely fish of whatever target species that you're looking for. And like I said before, even if it's crap, is it ever crap when you're out on the rock ends in 23 degrees and sunshine? I don't think so. Well, it's really poor. This one's been out about 20-25 minutes again, still no bites. So I'm gonna get this one in and I'm gonna have one more off this front point here, try and chuck it a bit further out again, and if not, I'm just going to work my way back up for the start of the flood. It's pretty much bang on bottom water now. I am starting to lose hope a little bit, like, but never. It's literally not even being touched. Never a good sign, that. By this point in the session, if you're not getting bites and stuff, you pretty much know that the fishing's probably not going to be very, very great, even if it does turn on the flood. You might get a little influx of fish on the flood, but it's different in the winter when the sea's running and stuff. Changed into the flood can bring the fish on big time, but I find in the summer months when you're fishing in the kelp beds, if they're not there, they're just not there. You might get a couple on the flood tide, but it never turns absolutely lifting with fish on the flood tide like in the summer months, in my opinion anyway. But we'll move about. I'll see if I can get a bit more height on this one, get it a bit further out. I even consider jumping in the van and going somewhere else, but to be honest with you, I really can't be bothered. I'd rather just stop here and enjoy the weather and fish the rest of the session, and then that's it. You're not asking for much, are you? One size codling, but this is just the cod fishing on the northeast coast at the minute. Very hard. Has its ups and downs. It's certainly not as consistent as what it used to be even 5 years ago. Like, I mean, local club match results will tell you everything you need to know about that. Matches up the coast in Northumberland, 25 people fishing, and they're getting run with a bag of 1 flounder and a dogfish for heaviest bag, and a dogfish for heaviest fish. In fact, I've seen some club match results, I think 2 weeks ago, where there wasn't even a single codling weighed in out of about 20 anglers, which you could expect early May, mid-May even, but once you get into June, should be fish here in the kelp. We used to do well in May. She seems to be getting later and later every year. I think that's like any sort of fishing around the country at the minute. Never mind, gets you out of the house, doesn't it? You've got to try. You're not going to catch them and sitting in the house. Well, I think the session's drawn to an end soon. I've got this one out here, and I've got another one baited up, which I'm going to go somewhere else with. But yeah, I've come off the point after I had them 3 or 4 trucks on there. I've come back on here and I've started chucking that way. My way along, I've had about 3 or 4 trucks on here. Nothing, no bites at all. So it's just one of them days. But yeah, like I say, I'll have this chucking and I'll go on that point over there again and have one more. And if I get a fish on the last chuck, then I might have another one. But if I don't get a fish on the next chuck over there, I'm done. We'll bring you back if we'll get one. We probably won't, because it hasn't been a very good session like. But I've enjoyed myself. It's been nice to be out in the sun and just sit and chill out and have a little think about things and all the usual stuff you do when you're fishing and you don't catch any fish. Well, in a second I'm going to call it, and that's the session done. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It costs you nothing and it will help the channel grow if you can subscribe. And obviously in future when I'm putting out more content, you'll get a notification so that you don't miss it. I hope that anyone who was watching could have picked up a few tips. And if you already know your stuff, I hope you enjoyed the crack. This is just the harsh reality of fishing on the northeast coast at this time of year. Unfortunately, it's very inconsistent. But I've enjoyed being out, and I've enjoyed putting a little video together as well. Gave us something to do whilst the fishing was quite slow. But until the next one, tight lines, and thanks for watching.